Hello and welcome to another Writerly Wanderings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author who's not got a tea or coffee because I'm out in the wilds. And this is a short video mainly to express my sympathy for all the poor fellows who have recently lost their jobs. Now I can talk about this quite happily because I've had a lot of personal experience of losing jobs. Back when I started out, I intended to be an actuary, so I went to university and studied for 2 years to learn how to be an actuary, and very successfully failed every single examination that I was given at the City University in London, which was a bit of a blow because I'd never failed an exam before that. So I went into the computer industry. And I was very fortunate. I managed to get into a company called Wordplex. That was a British word processing company, and small, exciting. They only had about, 150 odd salespeople, I think, across the UK. But it was a lovely, friendly firm to work for. Very patriarchal to an extent, very loyal to their staff if their staff worked. And I had a great time there for 4.5 years. Then I went to a firm called Wang Laboratories, which not many people remember now, but back in the 80s, it was the leading word processing and office automation company. It was great. The only trouble is, that accounts for 9 years. In 13 years, I had a total of 13 jobs because every company I worked for went bust. Apart from the very last one. The last one didn't actually have the decency to go bust. They dispensed with my services because they got rid of everyone in the company who didn't have any job security. In those days it was 2 years minimum. And everyone who hadn't spent 2 years at the company was fired because they were floating themselves on the stock market and they wanted the productivity per person to look that bit better. So I was not totally enamoured of the computer industry after that, and I decided that I would break away from sales of computers and do something totally different. And it was that firing with that last firm that basically started me off as an author. It wasn't easy because we had no savings because every firm that went bust owed me money. So we hadn't received the money that I was due. I didn't receive any of the money I was owed from travelling expenses or anything else. So it was pretty hard. Still, with the support of my wife and parents, we survived. And that really is the message I wanted to bring across today. I know what it's like to lose your job. The initial feelings are of despair and desperation because when are you next going to get some money come in? How are you going to pay the mortgage? All these problems, I know, it's hellish. But it does get better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. The main thing is not to succumb to absolute desperation and basically give in, because the easiest thing in the world is to not get a job just because you look so desperate. It's the same as the old saying for salespeople. A successful salesman always looks successful. A salesman who isn't successful, who's having a really hard time, finds every sale harder and harder. And it's the same with getting a job. And what you've got to do, I believe, and I only offer this partly because it's a little bit to do with how I used to get jobs and partly because it is the way the market is now. Everyone's going to be doing the same thing. If you've got tens of thousands of ex-government employees suddenly all looking for jobs, they're going to be doing the usual things. They'll go onto LinkedIn, they'll look up friends and family and try to work out if there's any jobs going somewhere there. They will try to email different companies in their area. The trouble is, of course, everyone's going to be doing that. So I would just suggest taking a slightly alternative view. Think about the sort of firms you're talking to in your area. Think about what you could do for them, what you'd like to do for them, and contact them. But don't just send an email to human resources or personnel, because the trouble is, it is so easy nowadays for people to see an email and think, oh, another one, and they'll just delete it. Trying to make sure that an email is read is hard. Trying to get it read by the correct person is equally as hard. If you just send an email to a website, the contact address in the website, it won't be addressed to an individual, and it may get read, it may not get read, but will it be the correct person that you want to read it? That's probably somebody in marketing, and they're probably not going to care. However, if you're ex-military, if you've got a good track record in different companies and so on, then you are a marketable commodity. So what I would suggest is phone the firm or look the firm up on the internet and find out the local manager or the managing director or the chief executive officer, whoever it might be, who is the most senior person, and then handwrite a letter. And when I say handwrite, I do mean type it up, but handwrite the Dear Mr. and handwrite the Yours Sincerely, whatever your name is. All the rest of it, type it up, that's fine. Keep the letter brief. It should be no more than 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is, hello, I'm writing to you because I have skills which I think may be useful for your firm. The second section is, this is my experience. I've turned around other businesses, I've done this for other businesses, whatever it might be. You need to have a story to tell in the middle paragraph. The last paragraph is, I would really like to have a moment to talk to you. Would it be possible for me to phone you? If so, this date or this date. This is my email address. If you could have someone contact me and arrange a time, I'd be really grateful. And then, kind regards, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, whatever, and your name. Now, it may not get you a single interview. It may not work at all. But if you send a letter, it will be opened and it will be viewed by the person you're sending it to, because letters now are quite rare. If you handwrite the Dear Mr. and the Yours Sincerely, whatever, that makes it personalised, and it's even more likely it's going to get read. Will it definitely get you a job? No, of course not. But what you're doing is you're maximising your opportunity within that business. And it's very difficult. I know, I've done it before. As I say, I had to find 13 jobs in 13 years. And 2 of those jobs lasted for 9 years in total. So I know exactly how hard it is. But by doing that, by handwriting my letters, the dear and so on, by typing up the main letter and handwriting the end of it, I did get a job very quickly. And I think part of the reason why I kept getting jobs was that I wasn't actually necessarily convinced they were the right jobs. And that's something else you need to be aware of. If your desperation shows when you go into an interview, some people will take that not as a positive, but they'll feel sympathetic. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to want to offer you a job. If they see someone who looks really downbeat, downcast, upset, and in a bad place, that's not exactly motivational for them to take you on. They want someone who's going to be enthusiastic, easy to get into the team, friendly, and effective. So you have to appear in that manner. Right, I've probably spoken enough. The only other thing I want to say is, it could well be that you don't get a job, that things are not so straightforward. If that's the case, again, don't panic. I started writing because I realised I wouldn't be able to get another job in the computer industry because I'd had too many jobs and basically there was a recession ongoing and there was no way that anyone was going to recruit me. That's why I started writing books. I've now written 53, 54 novels, and things are, I wouldn't exactly say I'm a millionaire, I'm not. The income for all authors has decreased with the increase in Jeff Bezos's income. But even so, we're keeping our heads above water, we are surviving. And I'd imagine I'd be completely unemployable by any professional business now because I work for myself. I'm happy working for myself. It means that there's a lot of savings. I don't have to buy a suit every few months. I don't have to worry about putting petrol in the car all the time. I don't have to go out for meals with other professional people and buy rounds of drinks and things. It makes life an awful lot cheaper. I discovered that as soon as I started working for myself and stopped working for other people, my expenses and outgoings generally reduced to about a third of what they had been before. So there are savings you can make. Still, that's the only thing I was going to leave with, was that if you're creative in any way, don't for goodness sake think of being a writer, but there are lots of other things you can do. Start thinking about things you enjoy doing. Not necessarily going into an office and working, but perhaps, I don't know, painting, writing a book, making things. Another friend of mine was very fed up with the computer industry, so he left it and bought himself a small lathe and learned wood turning, and now he's making a lot of money out of just making bowls and candle holders and the like. So there are always other opportunities. Don't despair is the main thing. There is always something else around the corner. Often it'll be something a lot better than what you've been doing. And at the end of the day, if you're working for yourself, at least you don't have to worry about an employer deciding that it'd be better for a multi-billionaire for you to be disposed of. And that's about it, really. I hope that was moderately supportive, a little bit on the hopeful side, because there is always hope. And apart from that, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you found that useful. And if you've got any questions or any comments, do please add them down the bottom. I'll always respond to people who do give me comments. But apart from that, all best of luck. Keep your spirits up and good luck. I'm sure you'll find it.